start with defense though, and we can go from there. Drake May sacked 6 times in this game. Seattle scores a defensive touchdown that is first I thought be a strip sack, and then upon review, it's actually a pick six. Um, Seattle was all over the quarterback. Will Campbell struggled significantly, and their rookie left guard as well struggled significantly on that left side of the line. Um, Will Campbell gave up the most pressures out of any offensive lineman in a single game this year.
Was it 14?
14.
Yeah.
That's the most out of in any game. So pick any offensive line, even the famed, infamous, I would argue, Chargers offensive line. Not one lineman gave up more pressures than Will Campbell did on Sunday. I thought Seattle, with their exotic blitzes and their ability to confuse May and that offensive line, were just like completely dictated the game. And I went through a lot of the specific moments and pulled them because there were people, you have people that are arguing for like, why are we not putting May in these more favorable spots? Well, if you go back and watch the actual game, instead of just like looking over while you're having a conversation with your buddy watching the game, they were put in a terrible spot just many, many times. On the first drive of the game, Seattle brings just a 4-man rush. Bryce Hall, the first sack of the game, just literally ran through Will Campbell. It's May's blind side, so he doesn't have time to escape. It kills the drive. Before that, on that drive, they were 5 plays for 2 first downs and 30 yards. They had gotten the ball to Seattle's 45. They were in position to potentially score. But May is pushed right, and even if like they were running a levels concept to the left just to get all X's and O's on you, they're running a levels concept to the left, and because May's forced out to his right, he doesn't have a chance to throw to anyone. So even if he avoids the sack, he would have had to just throw the football away. They do a great job, the Patriots do, and Drake May specifically, the next play, going from 2nd and 20 and getting to 3rd and 9, May with his legs. But then Seattle brings it. It felt like, what people always talked about this year with Texas A&M and Mike Elko and their ability on 3rd down to get after the quarterback and have these exotic blitz packages and really confuse. And if you're in these spots against this defense, you're screwed. And it was that way in this game. 3rd and 9 on that first drive, we have, because of the scramble by Drake May, the Patriots get up to the line late, and so they're going to snap the ball at 3 seconds. And at 3 seconds, Eamon Worry and Devon Weatherspoon get up to the line of scrimmage. So you have 7 guys on the line. Seattle, as it's goofy, but they drop Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy in coverage. So you drop those 2 guys and blitz the other 5 guys. Witherspoon gets a free rush because Will Campbell doesn't slide over to the left. And I'd like to say it's not necessarily Will Campbell's fault there because, that's just not the protection scheme. He's not expecting that pass rush either from the left. But Drake's forced to his right. He's forced to throw it away, and it takes a scoring opportunity away. Like Mike Vrabel is sitting there. They're nervous to kick a 61-yard field goal. We had kind of discussed in the preview that made plenty of sense. These weren't big leg kickers. They were just accurate kickers. And that's a critical moment right there off the bat is New England can't respond to Seattle's 3 points. On the second drive of the game, they're driving it again. Drake May completes a pass to Kayshon Boutte where he stepped up in the pocket, and then they tried to run a delay handoff, but their rookie left guard, Jared Wilson, allows Drake Thomas, the outside linebacker for Seattle, just literally run right by him. Drake Thomas doesn't make the tackle on Henderson, but he forces Henderson to chop his feet, and Ernest Jones cleans it up. And then on 2nd and 14, it's a simulated pressure again. It's a free rusher. Drake has to get the ball out immediately. You keep going down the list. He was sacked 6 times in this game, and every time it's like it's only once was it a simple pass rush, just a straight up one-on-one win. There are 2 coverage sacks late in the 3rd and 4th quarter, but that's because May's trying to throw the football down the field.
Yeah, you had to at that point.
They completely dictated the game, Seattle's defense. And it's not just like their defensive line. It wasn't just a front four. It was bringing guys from different spots like Devon Witherspoon or Eman Worry or even the linebackers at specific spots. One of the guys that gets a sack in this game where it really kind of is a one-on-one for Seattle, the closest one to it, Riley Mills. And I just wanted to talk about Riley Mills and his story. He just straight rushes through Jared Wilson, the left guard. It's rookie on rookie. Right? Riley Mills is a rookie out of Notre Dame. This is a guy who was like, he was going to be potentially a first-round pick, more than likely a second-round pick, but he tore his ACL in the first round of the playoff against Indiana at Notre Dame. He was the best defender on that team. They missed him dearly in their run to the national championship. He falls all the way to the 5th round to Seattle, and Seattle feels like they got kind of a gym pickup, at least their local radio did at the time. That was his first sack of his career, is in the Super Bowl, and it's a one-on-one one. It's not like a free rusher. It's not a Drake May just falls down kind of sack. It was he got to the quarterback, he grabbed him by the jersey and pulled him down. That's what's so awesome about football is when it's a 53-man roster, you have so many different players that can make critical plays for you. And Riley Mills gets his first sack of his career in the Super Bowl. So I just wanted to give huge congrats to him.
Well, and even talk real quick, talk about the interior of the defensive line. I mean, the Patriots had 79 rushing yards. Over 30 of that was Drake May. He was the Patriots' leading rusher. And so even talk about their ability to bring all those blitzes, like that doesn't happen if they don't stop the run. I mean, Trayvon Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson did basically nothing. They combined for like 42 yards together, I believe was the number. And so then it just you just set yourself up to die against that defense, against the dark side, if you want to use that nickname. Are y'all pro the dark side nickname real quick?
Yeah, I like it. You got. Okay. I think a defense as good as this deserved a nickname, and the dark side is a good nickname. What was the reasoning for it again?
That was just what Leonard Williams had picked, and it's obviously a Star Wars homage.
Yes, I just didn't know. I didn't know if there was someone on the team was the offense the light side.
There were people throughout the year, like in the media early on, were like, "Do you guys compare yourself to the Legion of Boom? Do you guys feel like you're the Legion of Boom 2.0?" And Leonard responded with, "No, we're the dark side. That's what we've call ourselves."
It is a better nickname than the Emerald City Route Runner. I will say that.
Route Artist.
Route Artist. Thank you. The Emerald City Route Artist.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it. It doesn't knock my socks off.
No,
they are very much still on, actually. But it's a fine nickname.
We got to start using that one more. That's really funny. I like that one. Knock your socks off, but because they're still on.
Yeah,
they're still on.
The display made it better.
They
couldn't take your word for it. You had to show
correct.
it.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing to hide here.
One of the things, kind of during the game, because Seattle's just dictating the game so much defensively, is it's so simple for people to be like, "Oh, just do this. Oh, just do that." Even Tucker in the chat when they threw the touchdown to Matt Collins is like, "Oh, well, why didn't we just start by doing that?"
He was saying it sarcastically, but there are people out there who are being sincere about it.
To answer the people that are being sincere about it, there were people that are like, "Why haven't you been doing this the whole time?" Well, let's look at that scoring drive, that first touchdown drive for New England. It's literally just 3 plays. It was 3 plays. You're not going to score 3 plays every time against the Seattle defense. On the first play, May is pressured by 3 guys up the middle. They do a bad job of contain. It's a Seattle mistake, one of the rare mistakes they make in the entire game. He's able to get to the edge. He picks up 9 yards. On second down, May throws a ball over the middle to Matt Collins that is literally in between 5 guys.
It was a great throw.
A great throw, but it's 5 guys at arm's length. I don't think you're making that throw, even a second time in a row.
Yeah. It's a throw you're only attempting because of the situation. You're down big. First quarter, he's probably not ripping that throw to where it is, even second quarter.
Somehow it gets to Matt Collins. You get a huge completion, and then they go one-on-one against Tariq Woolen deep, and Tariq Woolen's been beat deep a ton this year. So maybe that's a little bit of an argument, but none of that drive is sustainable. You're not going to score a 3-play touchdown drive against Seattle, especially when Seattle makes the mistake on first down, and then somehow the ball gets through 5 of their guys. There's another argument where people are like, run some bootleg to get Drake May in space, to get him out of the pocket, and the reason you do that is because when you're sitting there in the pocket, you have to look over your offensive line, who are 6'6" and 6'8", and the one in between. And you also have to throw over the defensive line, who will jump up and bat the ball down. When you roll them out of the pocket, you don't have that in front of your face, and so you're able to see the field much easier. They tried that. They tried a bootleg on 2nd and 7 in the second quarter. And if there's, like, one of the things when people say that is, oh, well, it's that easy. Just run a bootleg. It'll get open. You think Mike McDonald and that defense weren't thinking that, weren't keying into that being a reality? And when they try it, he's literally immediately pressured, and he's forced to throw it away. Someone made a big point about that play during the game, that it was, I think it was Mott, and he was comparing him to some quarterback with that play, where he was rolling out to the right and he threw it out of bounds.
Was he just trying to compare him to Mahomes?
No, it was some white quarterback, I think.
Some white quarterback. Now I wish I could remember. I can text him real quick.
Yeah, I would ask him. He was comparing that to some play, but that play was blown dead immediately, and Josh McDaniels didn't want to go back to it because he didn't want another sack off of it. And then the other argument there really was spread them out. That meaning go 5 wide and put your playmakers in space. For one, if you're going to put your playmakers in space, you're not going to have extra pass protection. So Will Campbell's one-on-one with whoever is pass rushing against him. That clearly wasn't working already to begin with, so why go back to it? And for 2, what matchup did New England have at receiver where they have an advantage over a Seattle corner?
None.
I mean, like, realistically, none. The one that I would think you might mention would be like Josh Jobe, cornerback 3 for Seattle. But there's literally a play in the game where Kayshon Boutte tries to run a curl route in Josh Jobe, and Jobe just, with one arm, pushes him out of bounds, and Boutte's trying to make the catch out of bounds. He got bullied by Josh Jobe. So I don't even think that's an option either, because there's 2 against it. If there was anything like that New England could have done, is maybe look at the fourth quarter and like, oh, we should have just been, taking a bunch of shots, taking a bunch of chances. But where they didn't is in the third quarter specifically. There's 3 opportunities, 14 minutes left, 4th and 3 from their own 39. They're down 9-0. They punt the ball. 7:40 left in the third quarter. It's 4th and 1 from the New England 41. They punt the ball. And then 3 minutes and 45 seconds left in the third quarter. It's 4th and 4 from the New England 33, and they punt the ball. We didn't mention this stat in the preview, and I didn't know this stat until today. New England this year, on 4th and 4 or less, guess their percentage conversion.
71.
4th and 4 or less?
Mm-hmm.
38.
If it's The Price is Right, Sanders got it right. 87%.
Wow.
Bang.
They were 87% this year.
They're
The
basically
best
the Commanders of last year.
in football on 4th and 4 or less. And it was, for me, like, it was a clear showing in hindsight. I didn't feel this during the game, but I do feel it watching it a second and third time, is that their game plan was to lean on their defense and hope to force a turnover, hope Darnold turns the football over. And part of that is, like, it's completely fair to think that because they were great at doing that all postseason. But on the other hand, it's the Super Bowl. You have a guy who lost the MVP by literally 1 vote. At some point, I feel like you, like, give him a chance, and because they decided not to, you rely on your defense. And that's it's just a curious question of why did a guy who was 1 vote from winning the MVP, all of a sudden he's not your engine come the postseason. And it finally took, I think, New England losing for a lot of people to wonder and question that. Because it's not like it was not known. May had played pretty bad all postseason.
Yeah.
But on the biggest stage where they finally end up losing, that's when it becomes a problem.
I mean, it's a real possibility that it was because they hadn't faced defenses like this all season, right? I mean, the toughest defense they faced was the Browns.
You're calling them the schedule?
I'm not.
Toughest
You're
until
invoking
the postseason.
his slander name?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, they don't face a team. They didn't face any team like the teams they faced this postseason. No, I mean the Browns' defense is, I would say, on the same level as the Chargers. But you get that Texans, Broncos, Seahawks. Those are three of the best defenses in the NFL, and you hadn't faced a defense of that caliber all season. And so I'm not going to say he's the schedule. I'm going to say he's a second-year starter. And this is his first year as a full starter. Like, he didn't come until week 6 or maybe the number higher than that last season.
Careful saying that. You'll get someone in your comments making the worst argument you've ever seen.
What
you said?
Oh, yeah. That was a TikTok commenter that I forgot about. So this is his first full season starting. That's what I'm going to say it is. And I'm also going to say that I think that the shoulder held him back a little bit, right? He and Darnold both missed a lot of open throws, and I think that at least for him, he's got a great defense of. He took injections for his shoulder before the start. You don't take
Claims
injections.
It didn't bother him.
You don't take injections for something and it not be at least a little bit of a problem, right?
That's where you take the injections. Right?
The numbness is something.
Sure.
Not having the nerve is definitely something there. Darnold did have something though. He was like actually on the injury report with his oblique still.
Yeah,
so he's
got to get a new mattress.
Yeah. He does.
If like Tempur-Pedic or someone sponsored us, I would try and
Sleep
give him a
Number
little shout.
Sponsors Dak Prescott. Maybe Darnold's in that commercial next year.
It's probably a good idea. He's got to get on that.
The truth is, only 2 quarterbacks this year played well against Seattle and had great days, and that's Matthew Stafford, who won the MVP, and then Baker Mayfield. Baker had a great day in what, for me, is the game of the year, Tampa Bay, Seattle. Go back and watch it. Seattle's defense this year, if you take the Los Angeles Rams out of the games they played against playoff teams, they were 7-1, allowed just 12 points per game, 254 total yards. Quarterbacks were 8 touchdowns, 10 picks, and 31% on third down. So even though they had played, these kind of style of defenses in the postseason, I do think like Seattle was the best of the ones because they hadn't had an opportunity to see this defense before. And they had seen it last year in New England when these two teams had played, but it was the first time for Drake May seeing this defense. And I brought up this stat, which is a public stat in our previews. Quarterbacks really struggled against Mike Macdonald in their first start. They're now 10-33. They're 39 touchdowns and 42 interceptions in their first start against a Mike Macdonald defense. If you go back to his Ravens days, so this is a game that it shouldn't necessarily surprise you if you just looked at the numbers before. I think that's what kind of surprised me about this game is I just didn't expect the numbers to dictate that much of the story, but it really was one of those games where what had happened in the past. This game was played on paper, is I guess what I'm trying to say, is what it kind of felt like, and what it definitely looked like in this game.
It really did. Kind of simply, even talking about it, like when I first previewed it, is like it kind of just showed from the jump that Seattle's defense had the edge, and we're going to continue to have the edge for the whole game, and there wasn't really much the Patriots were going to do about it, and that is what the numbers showed all season for that Seattle defense. Is like it just was hell to have to try and play quarterback against them or try and move the ball against them.
And another thing in May's defense, and like I'm not a May hater. I'm not saying that they're being the number 2 seed in the AFC was entirely relying on the schedule. They had a really good season, and they took a lot of steps forward in the right direction. But another reason I think that there's an argument that May had that bad game is the Seahawks had a great defense all season long, and they were still doing like new stuff on Sunday, right? So now you're not only just prepping for one of the best defenses in the NFL, they're throwing new things at you, especially Devon Witherspoon was a freak on Sunday. Do you know how many pass rushes he had this season before the Super Bowl? He had 21 pass rush snaps all season long, and he had 7 on Sunday. He had a quarter of his season pass rush snaps came on one game in the Super Bowl.
That's remarkable.
He had 1 sack all season long. It came in the Super Bowl. It's just like that's the kind of thing where there's, as a second-year quarterback, like I said, he's still young to like go in and be prepping for that, and then you go in thinking you're ready, and they do something that you're not expecting, right? The most pass rush snaps Witherspoon had all season was 4. That was the highest, the most he'd ever been rushed in a game. He had 7. Like, that's the kind of thing that, McDonald was just kind of playing with him. and really just taking advantage of that second year guy and the pieces that he had to move around on defense, because you can move Witherspoon around and bring him, and you still have such a great secondary back there to kind of fill that in. It's really a great job of coaching defense. And so that's all to say. I don't think it's entirely the schedule. I'm not going to call him. I will call him the schedule jokingly.
It's a fantastic slander name.
It's a fantastic nickname, yeah. And next year if they're better, maybe, or not better, but if they are good in spite of a hard schedule, he embraces it. That'd be really funny to see. But that's what I'll say there is. I don't think that, like you said, the only quarterbacks who've had success against this defense were Stafford and then Baker Mayfield when he was playing like the MVP frontrunner. Those are the only two guys we've seen with success. So this is not at all. I mean, the running joke in our group chat yapping is JP, whenever there's a low-scoring game and everyone's complaining, he says, celebrate defense. And I think we need to bring that to the show. There's a lot of bits and jokes we have off the show that I feel like we need to incorporate into the show.
Sure.
I think celebrate defense is a big one. This was a huge celebrate defense game because the Seahawks, I don't think that the Rams would have had a good game Sunday the way they were playing. I'm going to be 100% honest. I think that they I think they ascended. I think they ascended to just a different level of execution and of game planning. It would have been.
I think that's fair, but also like, and it was Drake May was put in a tough spot, and he's a second year, but there also were multiple plays he just like missed, and that's kind of the thing when you're going against a defensive that good or is that caliber, is like you have to make them pay for every mistake, and he was not very good at making them pay for their mistakes. When he had a guy open, we talked about him missing a couple throws. There's pressure every which way. Doesn't necessarily always see it the best. There were one or two where I like of the coverage variety, which I know no one's open, but like you got to end up just throwing it away. You got to just take off and run. Like an elite quarterback, which once again he's a second-year guy. It's fine he's not elite. We'll go back to the argument in yapping from earlier of like was Patrick Mahomes is the guy that like will, as an elite quarterback, like finds ways to still make something happen for the most part. What the hell? Sorry, excuse me. Like he simply wasn't good enough at the same time.
Yeah. Let's go and use that to transition to Drake May. No,
one more.
Oh,
to
more
celebrate
about defense. More
just
about defense then.
The two plays specifically, the two Witherspoon plays. I didn't know that was just he had 7 pass rushers on Sunday, and that was a quarter of what he had this season. But the two biggest plays kind of showed to Mike McDonald and having that extra week of preparation for May and bringing these what literally becomes exotic because it's not something you've seen. The two biggest plays from Witherspoon, on 3rd and 14 is they bring a deep nickel corner blitz from him. They drop Ernest Jones, who's mugging at the line, and it's 6 guys on 6 guys blocking with a Hunter Henry chip. So it's really 7 on 6 for New England. And Morgan Moses, the right tackle, literally just lets Witherspoon go right by him. Literally just lets him go right by him. Because with their protection scheme, the running back is supposed to pick up any corner blitzer. And Moses has another guy to his right. And so he's 2-on-1. He's going to let Witherspoon go by so Ramondre Stevenson can pick him up. The problem is Will Campbell lost. Ramondre helped over on the left side. And so Witherspoon just skirts by Moses and sacks May immediately. That is like elite defensive stuff for Mike McDonald, knowing that if I make Ramondre trip on this left side, I can, because of their protection scheme, get a free rush for Devon Witherspoon on a nickel blitz. And then the play that ends up turning into the pick 6, it's just playing every snap, kind of coaching defense speak. It's coaching speak right there. Play every snap. May completes a pass on 3rd and 8 to Hunter Henry to play before New England. It's under 5 minutes left. They're trying to go fast. They're trying to keep the speed up so they can have some kind of chance of having a comeback. And Mike McDonald puts them in another corner blitz, and Witherspoon gets another free rush because they're just not even taking the time to scheme up protection for it. Their offensive line just completely lets Witherspoon get by, and it turns into him hitting Drake May and then Nwosu for a pick 6.
Which, it's not unfortunate. The way that played out is it was listed as an interception. But, I mean, that thing is a tenth of a second away from being Witherspoon's second sack of the season, of the game and of the season, and a forced fumble. Like, that's what I talk about when I say that defense And the game plan and Witherspoon specifically were just playing at a different level than we'd really seen them all season long, because he hadn't had a sack all season, and he had one and then was a tenth of a second away from getting there before forward progress, and it's a strip sack, which is a sack.
Yeah.
So just an insane game defensively. And then what was the other thing you wanted to talk about?
Those are the two.
Okay.
Was those two plays, the Witherspoon's biggest plays, which I thought if there was any player outside of Kenneth Walker, who we'll talk about in a little bit, I thought like Devon Witherspoon kind of would have deserved MVP.
I think if that was, I think if it had been a strip
if they
sack,
had to pick a defender,
I think if it had been a strip sack, it would have been him.